Good morning, everybody.
Hey, morning, President Tim.
Morning, President. This dreary morning. So, but you know what? Let's try to cheer things up after what some negative stuff that happened. Al will be talking about that in a moment. But first, I'd like to start off with our truth and reconciliation. So we acknowledge that that Innisfil is situated on treaty lands that is steeped in rich Indigenous history. The Rotary Club of Innisfil also acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the First Peoples of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe peoples of the Bausilei First Nation, Chippewas of Rama First Nation, and Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for generations of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people, and as settlers, we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The Rotary Club of Innisfil acknowledges the forced sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. I guess all now to rise and sing "O Canada." Our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Okay. But I was still able to sing that considering I had a tube in my windpipe yesterday. So I see that Whitney and Chris Hoagie are online. Welcome. So I want to pass the meeting over to Al to speak a little bit on what most of you probably have heard happened here in the community yesterday. And Al, please, SRPR, take it away.
Thank you, President Tim. And I want to say good morning to Grace and welcome Grace to our meeting. Grace is coming to see what we're all about here at Rotary. It's very nice to have you. To all the rest of you, it's great to see you. Please bear with me. When I was a young policeman, I was 22 years old, and I was down at the headquarters, and I was in Toronto with Jimmy Lothian. Jimmy Lothian was 22. He was the same age as me. He was a young Scotsman, and we both joined the Toronto Police Department in 1967. My badge number was 2884. He was 2885. And 6 months later, he stopped a car in Cabbagetown, downtown Toronto, full of drug dealers, and he got shot 6 times. He was killed. And that was my first real taste of what being a police officer and knowing a police officer was all about wanting to get killed. And it made me very cautious. For years, the young policemen used to laugh at me because I walk into a kitchen and a domestic and I see a knife and I take the knife. I wouldn't put it in the drawer. I'd hide it away in a cupboard. But Jimmy Lothian's death did something to me, and I was very careful. For 38 years, I was a cop. I was a detective most of my life. I was a critical incident guy. I was a hostage negotiator. Over the years in Toronto, every year from the 67 till 76, when I left Toronto, policemen got killed. For sure, one every year, sometimes 2 or 3. There was Jimmy Lothian, meant a lot to me. there was Erwin and Sinclair. There were two detectives. And I knew Erwin's family very well, knew his sons. And they went to a call not far from my mom and dad's house in Don Mills. And as they walked down the corridor, a guy stepped out of a doorway. It was a party that was getting out of hand, and he shot the both of them, and he killed both of them. Then I went to York Regional Police, and one night, it was 1976, Tribling, our patrol sergeant. We were just leaving the station, and there was a call to a break and enter on Steeles, close to Don Mills Road. And he raced down there, and he got shot, and he was killed.
Literally 2 minutes.
And so his name was Tribling. Huge funeral. Oh, by the way, these funerals, they were huge. There was 14 buses of officers went to a funeral just north of Toronto in the 60s. 14 buses, each bus carried 60, 70 people. It was cute. The funerals were amazing. And then there was Todd Bayless, my partner in Oak Groves in North York. And his son, no, there was Ted. Ted was my partner. Todd was his son. And Todd was a young officer down in the lower part of the west end of the city, and he was shot and killed one night. And I remember going to the funeral, and it was a huge funeral, but when they took the coffin from the funeral parlor out into the hearse to take it to the church, I'd seen Ted, I gave him a hug, and one of the officers noticed me, and he said, "You knew Ted?" I said, "We were partners." He said, "Would you like to help take the coffin out and put it in the hearse?" And I did. I was able to carry his son's coffin out of the body. Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, over the years, there was hundreds and hundreds of policemen on forces that I worked with that I never knew. And when they were killed, I only knew the name. I didn't know them. But this was really close, very close. And for those of you, I guess everybody's aware of what happened, eh? So last night about 9 o'clock, 2 officers from South Simcoe went to a home at the 9th and 25th side road. I believe it was on Summers Boulevard. My buddy Doug lives there. He was a Mountie. Anyway, the 2 officers went in the home, and there was some kind of a disturbance, probably a domestic. We don't know. Somebody in the home shot the 2 officers, and they returned fire. The person who did the shooting, he was killed. 1 officer is dead. The other officer is critical. So when this meeting's over this morning, you've all got to say a prayer for this guy. Anyway, I'm going to respectfully request that we don't have any good news this morning, but we all stand and we have a moment of silence. Is that okay with you?
Please. Yes.
Well, let's stand and let's just take a moment, all right? Thank you very much. Now, Chief Fletcher is still the chief to the end of this month, but he's off now on accumulated holidays and sick leave. And so Acting Chief Van Dyke, and my God, what a way to start. He's the new acting chief. He will be releasing a statement later today, but I just want to mention something. All these incidents are associated with huge funerals, like huge. You wouldn't believe it. From Bayview and Steeles all the way to Yonge Street. We were in the procession for Bayless's funeral, and there was people lining the streets on both sides, and there were 5 and 6 deep. There was thousands and thousands of people. Now you'll see a funeral here in Innisfil like they've never seen before. Now, please excuse me. I was known when I was a detective, and he was a rough old bugger, but he was fair. But unfortunately, when you get to be 77, and your memories start to flood back. You get pretty emotional. So thank you. Thank you very much. And Grace, not all our meetings are like this. Okay? They're not all like this. All right. And Tim, we're looking forward to hearing from you today. And when you know it, we're talking about peace polls. Peace. And when we talk about peace, it's not just in the Ukraine, it's in the kitchens in Innisfil. So Tim, it's all yours. Thank you very much.
Your emotions give you credit, Al. So we feel. And
God,
I appreciate everything you do.
I didn't cry for 50 years, for 60 years. Now I'm 77, I cry all the time.
One thing that I would always do when I was working with the scouts is, especially the beavers, the youngest ones, whenever we would have like Remembrance Day services and things like that, we'd be talking about the soldiers and their sacrifice. I would always try to make sure the boys always understood, don't only think about the ones overseas, think about the ones here, the police officers, the firefighters, all those people who put their lives on the line every single day, and make sure you thank an officer for their service, because what they do is not always easy. What they do is not always just that parking ticket or that speeding ticket. It's they actually put their lives on the line, and sadly sometimes it's taken, and we should always honor it.
So I left Toronto in 1976, and I moved to Barrie. And over the years, my buddies would say, must be nice. You know, and you don't have the same problems we have in the city of Toronto. No. Over the years in Barrie, with the same problems. Doesn't matter where you go in the world, you're going to have incidents like this. And Innisfil has been sheltered for a long time. So get ready for it. What a huge funeral right here at Innisfil.
I know with Andrew Holm, who was the police officer that was shot down in Toronto or Mississauga, somewhere. I knew him, and the thing about it is he actually was one of the police officers with me in the ride for Paralympics. And I had just got my license as a motorcycle, and he stuck with me through right out to Hamilton, or whenever we rode out to Peterborough area and things like that. And he was such a sweet man, big man, but was really a sweetheart, you know. So they're not all these, like you say, rough and tough guys. They're also these people that care. So yeah.
All right, Tim, we're gonna hear about peace bowls, right?
You're gonna hear about peace balls, actually.
Did you bring one, did you?
No,
I'm only
you're a
kidding.
little heavy.
No way, it takes 3 men and a dog to carry these things.
Or just you, apparently. Turn that one around on your own. So, all right. So I actually split my time into 2 different presentations. The first one I'm going to talk about the update on the peace bowls, with the idea that this is not just me. This is not my project. This is our project, and my presentation is a living document. It is one that I would like us to continue to update and you know, make plans together about how we approach the community to make sure that this is truly a selection of peace that we're picking this up. So I'm going to start with that one, and then after that, with the time remaining, I want to talk a little bit about the apple dumpling readings. I brought the sample presentation that I have to help readers, because I know Whitney and I had been chatting at one point, and we're still looking for some readers who would be interested in going into the school. I mean, I would do every single school if I could, but you know, I guess it's good if we get more and more Rotarians out there, because the kids getting to know the Rotarians, they'll remember them. Because it's say when I did the grade 8 graduations, I made sure to reference those. How many people came? How many kids remembered the Rotarian coming in and reading it? And some did. It actually things, and they will remember you. And so that's actually a really important factor. So, all right, so let's jump right into this. Okay, this one does not have. Just in case. Zoom doesn't want me to do this. You'd think I was a computer guy or something. All right. There it is. It doesn't- Oh, it's behind you. Okay. Okay. Okay, so as a few months or weeks ago, I don't know, all time's relative to me now. So I came up with a code name, code 777, with the idea that there were 7 peace poles reflecting 7 different areas of Innisfil, reflecting 7 areas of focus from the Rotary perspective. So there we go. So I summarily picked 7 different locations, trying to balance out Innisfil as a density thing, because we have a thing in Grace running for council will know this. There's different areas of the town that has always felt they don't necessarily get the same level of attention, or they're not treated the same way as others. So you know, Alcona, Stroud, Lefroy, Cookstown, Guilford, you know, Friday Harbor. So, and even all the way out towards the very edge of the town, right at the edge of Thornton, the ESSA. So I went through and I picked, I don't know if you can read this or not. Let's see here. So yeah, the 7 areas of focus, and I do welcome those who've not actually taken the leadership training or any other Rotary training that's online to know a little bit more about the things. So we have the peace building and conflict prevention, basic education and literacy, disease prevention and treatment, water sanitation and hygiene, community economic development, maternal and child health, and supporting the environment. So I started looking at where ones would go. So this pole here that you see at the bottom of the picture is our pilot pole. Many of you saw it, that we had it here. So Jamie Hardy is a local artist, and he took the first one. The reason he came into the conversation is because he would go around painting all of the mailboxes in the area that Ed Smith lives in, and his wife Sydney is very involved with the Innisfil Arts Council. So having that connection to local artists and giving a dynamic feel to each pole brings uniqueness. And I think that's, if we just had 7 generic poles that we just purchased as stuck anywhere, personally, I think they'll be forgotten about within weeks, if not months. But you have something that's dynamic and different, and you actually have different groups that are involved with and actually may care for more often. I believe you'll have more community involved. So we did get a grant that we still have to use. So we have about $2,000. And because the first 2 poles were donated to us by Greg Bray, which is wonderful, we have money that we can actually do for some nice things, a little garden around it, maybe some lights, things like that we have to make it interesting, but we still have some work to do. So this was one location. Another recommendation was the Cookstown Idea Lab and Library. Unless somebody has a different idea for Cookstown, it seems to me to be the most logical focus there. The only other possible area would be the gazebo that's connected kind of to the Trans-Canada Trail that runs along there, maybe something more visible, but
No longer there.
The gazebo's gone.
It's gone.
when?
They knocked it over because it's falling over.
Really? It was falling over? I thought that it looked good. Well, it's not there anymore.
Structurally, it was not sound.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. well,
Can I also add that this is a gathering place for 2 reasons in this community? The library is there, and of course, they do a lot of the functions we do here in this library, but it also is the home of the curling club. And so there's a lot of foot traffic and so on there as well.
And if nobody's actually had an opportunity to go there now, I don't know what it's like right now, but they also have the little hedge maze they built. It's not really a hedge maze, it's more of a weed maze, but it's still fun to walk. So
It's still there.
yeah, it's very, very intelligently built. I mean, you get on it, you walk and walk and walk. My wife who's most of you know has cerebral palsy, so she walks with a severe limp. After got tired, she's like, I have to walk in. So it's, but because you walk it, you're like going for like 10, 12 minutes. It's quite a lot. It's quite fun to do. So if we have something over there and draw more attention to that, not only are we now supporting literacy, but we are getting community involvement and showing Cookstown that we care. Because we do. Well, most do. So supporting the environment. So my recommendation had been, and again, this is a group thing, is the entrance to the Trans-Canada Trail. This allows us to reflect the farthest corner of Innisfil, which with everything going on in Veterans Drive, I don't know if one day Barry's gonna try going gobbling that up. Barb, I don't know if you've heard anything there.
Oh, they always want all of us.
Yes, that's true. So, but if we start there, I mean, we know that Gateway Casinos is very important to Innisfil. So we don't want to get Barry gobbling that for obvious reasons, and it's of course right across the road from that. So that would be a good place for us to do, and it has a huge amount of traffic. I don't know if anybody, I know right now Veterans Drive is a bit of a mess, but you go there and there's always cars there, people walking their dogs, people biking, things like that. It's a wonderful trail that goes for 38 kilometers all the way down to Beat. So maternal and child health, Big Bay Point. The theme may not necessarily be reflective of Big Bay Point, but it's putting it at the Innisfil Fire Station. Now, since I came up with this plan, I've now discovered it may not be easy to put things at fire stations or at police services because town-owned property versus thing. So this is something that I think we need to work on.
That's all town property,
Yeah.
except for the trail.
That's
The library is town property.
Oh, okay. Good point. Good point. Thanks, Mark. Just somebody had said to me that there, maybe it was Chief Fletcher who said to me there were some complications putting it in place versus, but we'll go there. This one, yes. So now the water sanitation and hygiene to meet St. John treatment. I know we don't have a lot of foot traffic there right now, but they do have the bike lanes, and I think there is a theoretical concept of putting some trails through there eventually. So we might have some more traffic. We want obviously high visibility areas. Stroud, try to figure out a good location. The corner where that economic development building there is, I think there's a financial company. Seemed to me it's right by the Tim Hortons.
Oh, that's a bank and lawyers.
That's
Okay,
a credit union.
yes, so economic development, you think about it. So otherwise, I mean, we talked about food land at one point to honor Troy, but you know, I don't know, because it's, private versus public property, we gotta be careful where you put it on and who supports it, and insurance, liability, and all those silly things. And yes, so to support Guildford, we talked about, I looked at the church at one point there because it's high traffic, but Guildford Hall would be nice to put some attention towards it. So that would support that area. So the idea that each poll would be unique and a partnership, and the TV's cutting off there, sorry. As a group, we will involve the Innisfil Arts Council to help identify and oversee each poll. So and speaking with Jamie and Sydney, the idea is like, now that we have that one template, we can start going around to different artists and say, hey, would you love to be involved with this? And would you love to take some kids on? Like get some of the kids from either the schools or the high school. Maybe, you know, we don't just have to look at Nantyre, we look at St. Pete's, because we still have a lot of kids from Innisfil who go there. And, you know, get more involved, kids involved, because that is one of our main goals here within Rotary, is to get the youth involved, because it's, if we don't, we see all the problems going on in the communities. We see systemic issues where kids don't know how to volunteer and things like that. I'll have a presentation for another day on that. But if we can get the kids involved and get excited and show them how to do things and actually have an artist lead them. I mean, there's a lot of kids I know that sketch and they show me their drawings and they're going, oh my God, they're so good. Well, they don't know what to do. Nobody's really giving them that opportunity to do something really big. My feeling is this. So what can we do as a group now? So all of us have to put our thinking caps on. So if you talking to somebody and somebody says, yeah, this particular parcel of land in this particular area would be better for this one. Great. I need to get in to talk to the Parks Department and the, not sure, Barb, which would be the best one really for the actual allocation of land.
To allow something to be put on it, not allocating, right? Like, it's just to use the land.
Yeah.
I think you have to talk to customer service before you could tie your shoes there, so you
Yeah.
probably have to talk to customer service to find out what department.
Yeah.
I have a couple of people that would direct me, I can ask.
Any assistance I can get on this one, I would love.
Yeah, and President Tim,
Yes, ma'am.
the library have offered their assistance in helping you work on permits as well, because they have experience in doing that with the town.
That's wonderful, and I'll touch base with you on that, and we can set up some when you're feeling better, okay?
Okay.
So Tim,
Yes.
we've got two, we're gonna have 7 altogether, right?
Within the project I have, we could get more. I mean, if people love the idea and love the idea of a peace bowl, want to have one for their own property, great.
Should we be finalizing with the gentleman who supplied the 2 for the rest? Should we take care of
That
that?
is an excellent question, Alan. Yes,
Okay.
in my personal opinion. So the one thing that Jeff and Doug and I were talking about is cedar versus pine. These are the ones we're getting from Greg are pine. And anybody who knows wood, pine doesn't have the same life expectancy as cedar. However, I still think we can get 20 years out of it. Well, a cedar pole could last 40, 50 years, right? I think is the idea.
Depends. Pine will last if you put it in properly. Cedar will, same thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because I've gotten cedar poles and like within weeks they're cracked, and so yeah, there's positives and negatives. I mean, honestly, we got 2 free really nice and heavy poles, right?
That's because they're still wet.
Okay, if they're wet, so Jeff, what would be if we got them? Say Greg was to cut them in the spring. What do we need to do?
You let them sit for 6 months in the open air, let them dry out.
Okay, there's no.
You gotta wrap them with plastic silks and have dents on them, so because you don't want them dried out too quickly either, because if you let them dry too quickly, they'll crack.
Okay.
If you let them dry slowly, they will be fine. If you put them in the ground and put no shrink around instead of concrete, it absorbs some of the moisture. Concrete won't absorb any moisture.
So Tim, that second officer has passed away. So Tim,
I like this on behalf of Rotary to send something to.
It's too early to still.
No, I agree, but when the time is right, we should send something on behalf of Rotary. Yes, Al.
so Tim, should we, we've got the money to buy the poles, right?
Yes, we have a $2,000 grant and we have to put in $1,000 ourselves.
And we've got to spend that money by a certain length of time?
1 year.
Okay, so we should,
July.
maybe we should let the gentleman know and firm that up, even if he keeps them there on his property.
Well, and Greg isn't going to go anywhere with our money,
No, Greg is a very respectful person. He's a firefighter, and he's just an overall great guy.
Yeah.
So.
he makes maple syrup more than me.
True Canadian. Yes, sir.
I'm just thinking, Tim, that if we wanted to approach Greg, maybe he would consider cutting the poles now in the fall. We could put them in the barn where I live. And it's a big open space upstairs and they could dry over the winter months and then we would be ready to do something with them in the spring. If he cuts them in the spring, we're looking at it.
Okay.
The fall, right? So
Yep.
if you want to do that, that space is available.
If you cut them now, there's the least amount of sap in the tree now, it's dormant. So in the spring, they have more sap and so it takes a lot longer to dry.
Okay.
Why don't we go ahead?
Yep.
And arrange with the gentleman. I'll pick the poles up, deliver them to Ann's, and we'll store them away, and then we have physically control of all of them. Could we do that?
Al, no picking them up by yourself.
No, you're coming with me next time.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So is something we ask Brandy to talk to Greg? What do you, or Ann, can you talk to Greg?
Talk to Brandy if you
Okay.
want and get her moving back.
Okay, I just don't want this one now to be him doing something else for free, because you know, he's done a lot for us, and we have the money to be spent. And you know, honestly, if you get a grant and you let that grant lapse, you don't get another one. So we need to spend that money and spend it well. So, yes.
I think Tay actually just.
No, your hand is up longer, go ahead.
Fight girls.
I absolutely love what you've done, Tim. I do have a thought in that working with the Art Council is incredible. I think that they're going to be much more interesting polls. We know the reasons why these locations have been chosen because they align with Rotary's 7 areas of focus. But I don't know that the community necessarily will know the significance behind that. So do we have a plan either to work with the Arts Council to include in the design something that is related to that area of focus? Or are we thinking, is there a way to incorporate a QR code to Rotary International website? Otherwise, I think we really, or a plaque.
And we are gonna have a Rotary plaque.
It will say the 7 themes.
Oh, we can do that too.
Only because I think that if the locations that you've currently chosen, if there's any issue with us putting them there, really, I think we could put them anywhere. As long as if we're articulating the 7 areas of focus in a different way. Because I think otherwise it's just an internal thought.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that if we put one in front of the water plant, for example, people are going to know why we've done that. So just something to think about and maybe solve for, whether that's through a plaque or a plexi QR code that links to Rotary International page or something, or even just in the design, working with the Arts Council and what they paint on there.
Yeah, and we are gonna have more PR.
It
So,
educates too.
yes, in the educational aspect and communication aspect is incredibly important. So there will be more write-ups on this, but I didn't want to jump the gun and start putting out press releases when we're not actually ready to put things in the ground. It's great that we have the poll, but now is where we do the interesting work. Yes.
I think because now there's more time that the poles have to dry out, like we decorate them after they're dry, is that right?
Yeah, that's the recommendation.
So do we put out a template to the schools of like, make piece per rail on this side and then get them to decorate this piece of paper and scan it into us, and then we send that to the Arts Council and say what artists can do these designs these kids have
That's a
made?
neat idea.
Just because I don't know how we could get the artists involved and then loop the kids in it. I feel like it's
Well,
easier to
sometimes
get
it
the
comes
kids
down
first
to-
and then.
Yeah, I gotta say, my thought is like, being an artist myself, I love working with other people, but some other artists are rather like, hey, no, this is mine. So you have to think about that. But yeah, having somebody present an idea to an artist that they can adapt, it's wonderful.
Can the artist put a QR code
Yes.
on each pole? And then a QR code, maybe the plaque explaining the whole thing will be a very big plaque. A QR code, everybody in the world uses them now, and it takes them to a website and explains everything about what the piece poles are for.
Well, and to that, I think a press release to explain why we've chosen the locations or
Right.
to announce the project is incredible, but it's a one and done. People who are new to the area in 2 years aren't going to necessarily know the significance of that. So having it built into the design, I think, is important for ongoing education and awareness of Rotary.
I love it. I love it. There is there's a tool that I'm looking to buy right now, amongst many, that maybe we can see if somebody already has one in the area, just so that's a conflict of interest. It's a wood laser burner.
Mhm.
So if we were to actually burn the QA code right into an actual nice, good, solid piece of wood, that would then be laminated properly, adhered to the pole, similar to how we're going to be doing the Rotary logo, which is metal, but it's going to be attached to each pole. We could do that easily. Now, when it comes down to the languages, so Jamie followed my wish list better than I even thought he would. So he added, obviously the English, made peace with all on earth. He put in the local indigenous wording that I recommended, but he also put in Celtic, which is something, because that's the one thing a lot of people forget about unless we're talking about the Celtic Festival, quite a few years back, is that Innisfil is an actual Celtic festival. So we have history in that. So we actually did put in the Celtic saying on there, which I thought was really cool. Do we need to do that on every single pole? No, we can actually have. There was talk at one point that the second most commonly spoken word language here in Innisfil apparently is Russian. So unfortunately today, in today's global climate, Russian not necessarily the most popular. However, at what point does that sound racist? I just
Doesn't sound racist at all.
No, they're killing people.
Somebody said that to me, made that comment.
Considering-
Be careful.
Tim, you gotta consider in Russia right now, there's people dying of protests.
Yeah.
There's people being arrested for protesting this war. So probably a lot of people in Russia don't want this to happen.
I think
Yeah, no, agreed, and not to make it about the whole political thing, but it's also the idea that if you look at historically, people were angry during World War II about Italians, but the thing is, if you actually look at the demographics in Italy, most of the population didn't want to fight in the war. So if you can make a whole thing about Italians, because you know what? A culture is not always their leader. Putin has done things and people are terrified of Putin, but I guarantee you, lots of lovely Russians out there. So at what point do we?
But right now is not the time to do that.
Agree.
It's about time, it's about timing.
Or maybe now is the time to put it on a peaceful eruption to say,
You,
These are the lovely conversations.
I would not donate to that poll. I would not donate to the cost of that
Because,
poll.
yeah,
I would sidebar this to a committee to bring.
I was gonna ask, who's the committee, Tim?
well, okay, so remember we had a committee and we dissolved that committee because things went
It
pear-shaped.
wasn't functioning.
So we can,
We need to
Michael,
have volunteers fit, because I can say, I know for sure, Tim can't do this all by himself, we need a committee and we're supposed to work by committees. And I think today you've got people excited, now is the time to ask for members for your committee.
so if anybody would like to be on a committee with me, come talk to me and we can.
We need at least 4 people making a decision,
Yes.
this is a huge decision that's gonna reflect for hopefully 20 years each poll would hopefully last.
Yeah.
So we need to have 4 or 5 people who have a really big interest in this and can move forward together on it.
Yeah.
And then bring the final sort of here it is, so we can celebrate it.
And
Yeah,
yours,
and President Tim, I suggest that you include maybe Sydney or Jamie in a couple of your meetings as well for their thoughts.
agreed, yep, 100%. Okay. Yeah, because and the reality is we're gonna, all the other committees that are already involved with different things, PR, everything with newsletter, like I'm gonna be working obviously very closely with Katie on that one, because this is coming out to communication. So if the more we are all talking about this and getting people interested, the better off this is gonna be. Okay, any questions on that particular project? I'm gonna jump over to our other one.
So anybody who's interested will contact Tim and let him know.
Yes, yep. How many here know about the apple dumpling stories? Oh, okay, how many don't know about the apple dumpling story? Excellent, excellent.
Is Whitney gonna read it to us?
Did you watch it?
Not today, Barb.
Oh, come on, she's gotta practice for the babby.
Yeah. So this is what I put together. Now, this is something we do not share outside of the club. This is technically something we should not be disseminating publicly, but I use this as a template when we go into the schools, because this was great, especially last year when we couldn't go into the school still. So we, this allowed us to still present to the kids and so basically this is a whole scan of the book that I did. I did have a concept at one point of actually doing all the audio. So this was just a full video that we could just hand to people, but I thought that was going too far. To me, the idea that you can be holding the book and having a presentation, and that way every kid can see it. Because the reality is, in the past, we would ever give every grade 2 child a book, which is, for literacy, is a great thing. However, the cost of these books has become a little on the high side. And if everybody, even Barry's having a problem getting them right now, we have to actually move the dates because they, for whatever reason, they weren't even getting them. So now, instead of every single kid getting one, we're getting them to the libraries. Yes, Allison.
But can you back up to what this project is?
So, okay, so basically a writer and artist in the United States came up with this particular topic, the title. It's basically a child's version of the 4-way test. So in this book, we actually go through each one. It's literally clubbed over your head, and you'll see. So basically, it's the idea that, Andy is, coming across a, apple tree, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna take those apples. And move forward. Yeah, and then he starts to pick the apples, but you know what? They're not his trees. So is that fair? And so.
I think I still have one book at home.
I still have one too.
That
So
we should maybe bring it next week, Tim, and people who haven't seen it can see the book. It is fabulous.
How is it, how do you decide what schools it goes into, or just all
Everyone.
schools?
Innisfil school.
all the Innisfil
Pretty
schools.
young grades. What grade did we read to?
Two.
Grade 2? And what they do is they have the kids all gather around on the floor, and as a Rotarian, you're in the middle of a little seat, you've got the book. And it's amazing how attentive they are.
Yeah.
And during your reading the book, of course, they refer to things in Rotary. And of course, I always thought this was a way to, those kids they'll each get a book, so they take it home. I'm thinking to myself, well, that's how the adults read this and think, well, maybe I should go to the Rotary Club.
Well, the other thing too is
But
there's a recipe.
There's a
yes.
recipe too.
There's a recipe.
It's a really neat experience, and the teachers love it, because the teachers love it when people come in and getting involved. So
Most of them did the project too, as I recall, after most of them made apple dumplings or some facsimile thereof. They made some kind of apple treats and stuff, but there's a recipe that comes in the book, and it becomes a class activity. And they talk about things like, is it the truth? And through the story and how he shares the proceeds at the end and so on, and
Is it fair?
how he does good things.
Yeah, well, as you see, from the flag on the wall behind us, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial for all concerned?
And Tim, the principal of the school and the vice principal, the ones I did, they came in and sat in the room because they wanted to hear it, see it. And and they were so thankful when we were finished. It was, it's a feel good time with little kids and Rotary. That's what it's about, really.
Yeah, so I love working with kids all the time. So I just love doing this.
So this is all great. When is it? Who's doing it? Are we organized for that yet?
That's, well, Whitney, so Whitney, are you still online?
Yeah, I'm here, Tim.
So, okay, we had to move the date because of the books being ordered from Barry. We're now talking after November 16th, correct?
That's right. The books will be here for pickup November 16th, and then I am arranging times with each of the schools. So I do need more readers, but we have books on the way.
Okay, can you send out or send to me or send it to everybody how many you need so that we can begin soliciting?
And what locations? So
It's all different, it would be all different schools. So usually I like to handle Paulina Beach, but you can go there yourself. If you want.
Good fellows cover.
Is it just the public schools or the Catholic schools as well?
No, it's all.
All schools.
Even the private school here. So, and we also have others. I'm not sure if anybody's is the new Islamic school that used to be in Bloor College, is that still technically part of this?
It is exactly Innisfil, but it is not there, I don't think.
I thought it was a school, an Islamic school, I thought.
You asked me the question, I don't think it is.
So, okay,
I
sorry.
drive by it often enough that
Oh, I thought it was a school. Okay, all right, okay.
There was this, yeah, there's nothing.
It was a store college, yes.
So if we introduce it to that school, then do we not have to go to every single daycare and every single Montessori?
No, it's great.
It's grade twos. Yeah, we're not talking daycare.
Montessori's would all have grade two. So if we're going that route, the Islamic school, then we can't exclude every Montessori.
But that's a good point. But I guess it comes down to physical amount of kids in each class in school. And how many Montessoris are there in Innisfil? I don't even know that question.
There's one for sure.
Yeah, I know the one on Innisfil Beach Road.
Yeah.
At least two.
So,
We have always done publicly funded schools, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
That's the line that we.
yeah. And if we had the bodies to go in to do the Montessoris, I wouldn't say no. I mean, honestly, the more we do, the better, but
Do all of the schools happen the same day?
no.
Okay.
Sort of within the same week.
Yeah.
And the other piece is that this was initiated by the Berry Club and then we flexibly were included. And initially, the funding and the approvals came from the public board. So therefore, we weren't going to the Catholic school that hadn't been approved in Rotary, all those sorts of things. Because I did this a couple of years. And so I looked into that because I thought we should reach everybody. So I don't know where we're at now, but that's.
We do Catholic schools as well. So St. Francis of Assisi and Holy Cross.
And that's only one book per school, right? So the cost is.
Yeah, I think we agreed on.
No, we went back to one for each student this year.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, we voted on it at a board meeting a couple months ago.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm glad.
Okay. It was always coming down to what was the physical dollar value and how many kids, and just make sure we had the money to pay for it. So.
All this paper right now is at a premium. and
Everything's at a
there's
premium. It's
not-
ridiculous.
They've also lost a lot of wood.
Well, if something happened and we needed a plan B, it's this. I mean, honestly, we can get up there with a limited amount of books or share the same book we had to. I mean, guaranteed there's gonna be enough probably in some other Rotary areas gonna have them, or if you've got a kid who ever went to one of the public schools, chances are you might have one in their room somewhere. We will read it because you know what? Not only do we teach literacy and teach little things about Rotary, but we actually make that extra connection to the school. So, yeah. Okay. Any questions on that before we move over to our draw? Okay.
Sorry, Kim, I do have one more question. I
Yes.
apologize for being so vocal today.
Please.
So this falls under the New Generation Committee.
Dotted line, it's kind of more of a, it's kind of fallen under the community engagement, but yes, I would say it's dotted line because we are dealing with the schools. So
What's the status on that committee?
the
The
new
status on
generations.
that committee, since it no longer has a chair.
Okay, well, I could actually officially put that here to the rest of the club. I personally would recommend, and I've spoken to Michael, but whether he would be interested in stepping into the chair of New Generations as it's now vacant. We have quorum here. Would anybody be object to Michael taking on the role as chair? Congratulations.
You and I'll have a different conversation. Okay, that just caught me off.
You brought it up.
I was just curious what the status was on the committee. It didn't mean that our conversation was going public.
Sorry.
But okay,
But it
You're
also,
voluntold.
okay.
it also has to be approved because the board, no, the board
No, it
doesn't have
doesn't.
chairs.
No,
So
the
you
board-
guys could decide yourselves. who are on your
And I would like
committee.
Taya to be the co-chair. Taya to be the co-chair.
Oh, signing you. Okay.
Yeah, according to the mandate board, when I read actually the.
It's okay, I'm not arguing.
Wasn't actually, I could have just said, you're in, but I feel that the club should have a say.
Not in your sixties.
All right, okay. With that, we are, we said we're going to draw at 8, I just realized that now, so it is time for our draw. And now we are gonna make sure.
Excuse me, President Tim, can you take your screen share down?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
You coaches have to be present, I think.
Thank you.
Well, one of us has to be.
Okay.
Our energy.
Okay. All right, so do we want to bring the drum up here? How do we want to do this, Jeff?
Well, it's up to you, but I still have 340 tickets missing, so.
Oh.
They haven't been returned, I don't know if they're sold or what happened to them, but there's 340 missing.
I can assure you, I have 4 books that were not sold or sitting at home.
That's 400 tickets.
40. No, there's 40 tickets. Yeah. So that would bring
Yeah,
it
is-
down to 300.
We have to do this at this time though, or
No.
are there tickets out there? Have you got any estimation?
We have to do
That's what I mean,
These
but
are
if
our
somebody has
lottery
tickets
license.
that won't.
Well, the
Not
reality
that,
is
not the not sold ones, they don't matter.
unsold tickets versus cash. Does anybody potentially have cash
And
and stubs?
How many people are on this Rotary? Because this isn't very many people that we're asking this to.
We have what? How many members we have?
30 something.
30, a little over 30.
Should you two help spin, because you're both RVH and it's going to RVH
That's the picture component.
for a picture?
For a picture, yes.
Yeah, picture wise.
Very much do that.
Well, as Jeff said in his email to everybody, it's like they had to come back to this.
Now, Steve is also on the foundation. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was putting you in it too.
For the both of you guys. We can do that.
I wanna-
Pull around.
Fully rolled, so no it's fixed.
So Mike.
I'm just getting hungry.
Tim, now there's no picture.
Should we tell me when it's back? 1 second. Start the video again.
Okay, it's back.
Yeah, and we'll just make sure that we're able to see.
It's gone.
Oh, did it cut it again? Sorry, 1 second. Ann.
Well, it's around $5,000. So I can't get them in. Okay, so.
Sorry. Camera's coming back.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's just concentrate on the
I
draw.
don't know if you heard that, Ann, but the winner is drawn. It was Lynn Mason.
Lynn Mason.
Lynn Mason, which is, who is actually Allison's mother-in-law.
Whose mother-in-law?
Allison, sorry?
Oh,
Yes,
We have
yes.
to mention that briefly.
Yes, I do have that on the agenda. Yeah.
All of it's to foundation five.
So,
Thanks, Mark.
that's
You're
great.
with all the counts, right?
sorry, Ann, is there a question?
No, I said that's great.
So, we will have, today's probably not the day, but we will have a postmortem on this particular lottery. Either it's seen as the bit off more than chew or the general interest or whatever reason. So this is not a reflection on the group as per se. It's the idea that what is the actual appetite for this kind of thing. So I think we just move forward in positivity, and yes, money was raised.
Does this club do cash calendars?
Yes.
It does. And so that's,
They're coming soon.
yeah. So yeah, Jeff usually deals with getting those, and those we start really soon, as I said.
No, I'm the queen of cash calendars, so I will make up for not being great at this.
And how many can you sell? I usually sell about 40.
Last year I sold 40.
Okay, so we're good.
But I'm gonna
Okay.
have to split them between Rotaract and.
So I'm gonna put a challenge out, that we were actually gonna get a crown created, and if Taya outsells Jeff, she gets to wear the crown. If not, Jeff has to wear the crown.
Ryan Harrison is a past Rotaractor and he's not selling this year, but we're always fighting. Like he'll comment on my Facebook post and be like, don't buy from Taya, buy from me instead. He's not selling this year, so I'm hoping to absorb his network. His list, I missed.
Okay.
I've actually advertised in that for the past, 10 years? However, 12 years, I guess it is. So.
Make great stocking stuffers.
They are.
Yeah.
They are, yes,
What
yes,
is that?
every year.
Neighbor gifts at the
Yeah.
holidays.
Everyone gets chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all my family know, oh yeah, it was Tim's gifts. Okay, all right, we have just under 5 minutes left of the meeting. We have a couple of things to still go over otherwise. We need volunteers for the pumpkin walk, which will be right after Halloween.
November 1st.
November 1st.
At the end of the month.
So there's two different things we need volunteers for. One would be the actual getting the pumpkins into the spots, and the other would be just like, do they want people walking the trails during just to make sure that there's no vandalism or
They
anything?
really didn't need a lot of people because folks just came and walked the trails and it was fairly well lit. They thought they needed them, but honestly, they really didn't. It was more helping hands when people drop pumpkins off to line them along the trails. And then last year they did have student volunteers who put the little switch on lights inside the pumpkins.
Mhm.
I don't know for sure if that's lined up or not, but last year we had 3 volunteers. So I think you said, Al, maybe 3 to 4 volunteers would be enough.
Yeah, I spoke to Marge Mossman about it, who actually is the organizer, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what she wanted was wheelbarrows. At the end of the evening, we have to wheel these pumpkins over to the farmers' trailers. They take them to the pig farms. But the actual trail where these pumpkins are lined up goes from the entrance to the park all the way along to the boat ramp. So
We had 700 pumpkins last year.
700 pumpkins.
And it'll be bigger this year because
Yeah.
people know what it means.
Yeah.
I know that Warren and Al are bringing wheelbarrows to help tote,
Yeah.
to tote the pumpkins, because by the end of the evening, when they're collecting them, and they go to a pig farmer.
That's right.
Yeah.
And feeds them.
Yeah.
But it goes, it starts at, what time does
I
it
think
start?
we started, I think Warren and I were there about 4 o'clock last year.
Actually, it's going to be a lot earlier than that. From March, I understood it's going to be a lot earlier to start.
See, I don't think a lot of people drop pumpkins off until after school or after.
Right, okay.
So, there'll be some, but.
Well, why don't I send an email out to the club?
Yeah.
And see if we can get some volunteers down there to help. It's just help organize them. But at the end of the night, all the pumpkins have to be gone from the park. Because what will happen is, if we leave these pumpkins there, the park will be covered in smashed pumpkins. So the end of the evening is the crucial time. And what time does it start?
Well, last year we were done by 9, and the
Yeah.
gentleman, the farmer that took the pumpkins was there probably about 8:30. And then as soon as the crowd thinned out, they started gathering.
Now,
pumpkins.
and is that well lit along there? Is there lights along there?
There are some lights, and then all the pumpkins are lit, so there was enough light.
So one thing we have to do is take those little the little metal battery candles, right? So we have to take them all out of the pumpkins, because we don't want the pigs chewing on those, okay? So there's a little bit of work involved. I'll send an email out to the club. Hopefully we'll get some volunteers.
What day is November 1st? Like what day of the week?
Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday.
You
Tuesday.
should know that.
It is.
It is Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
See if
And I believe the library is also involved in that event as well.
Oh, that's great.
They were there last year too, Ann, that's right.
Yeah.
We will swarm the park with Rotarians.
So Ann, can you forward me the contact at the library who's looking after it?
Yes, I will, Al.
Thanks very much.
And if everybody wants to have enter some pumpkins that are Rotary themed,
Yeah, they
I
can
wouldn't
be
say
carved
no.
Anyway, you just show up with your pumpkin and put it on the wall.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. All right, last thing on agenda before we end, 2 things. So Katie sent out a request for content for the newsletter. So if you haven't seen that, because I know that some our messages go in the spam. Please, anything, whether it's, pictures, interesting news, stories about yourself. I mean, she did give you an actual write-up to follow, a template to follow. So the more the merrier there. Janet, do you have anything for Learning Corner?
One last thing.
Oh, sorry.
So Katie, the thing at the 9th and Young Street, that's not gonna go, right?
Oh, sorry.
That.
October 5th. I'm just, I responded to your email and.
Sorry, yes.
Not sure where we're.
Yeah, okay, so what happened with that one is we didn't seem to have a lot of people interested in doing the food handling aspect of things. We only had like one person available to that. So Anne and Teresa and I were speaking that we still had a bunch of people who wanted to do it.
Okay, so
Just not
Tim,
necessarily the food.
there's a problem at this location. The parking area is the size of a quarter of this room. They're gonna have over 20 vendors with tents.
Where's this? What I've been.
It's at the
The
9th
ninth
line
and
and Young Street on the southeast corner.
Table greens, IBR table greens.
Oh.
And they're gonna have a real problem getting all those vendors up there.
And have they got a permit to do it? Like, there's no way that if they have no parking, there's no way they'll get a permit.
Also, we need a barbecue, we need a truck and a trailer, we need food handlers, and this is on Saturday, right?
This is on the 22nd.
The 22nd, okay.
Yes, so not this coming Saturday, the following Saturday.
But we would need to have a food handler there all day in case the health department shows up. We don't have one.
No, so I think Al, the thought was because we have enough
downgrade.
volunteers to attend.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be doing food, like we wouldn't do the food handler side of things and just have a Rotary presence.
Okay,
The thought being though, what is our to do or purpose there if we're not serving food? And so I suggested some ideas. I don't know if we have brochures that we could hand out from a membership perspective. So I had tossed some ideas to President Tim. And not sure if we have any other ideas of things that we could do while being there that are not food handling, because we have enough volunteers to occupy the time. It's just how are we engaging with the community if we have a booth there?
We actually have a brochure it's a little dated now, but it was done for our membership drives all the time.
Yeah.
So if you want, I can locate it out of my files.
Well, if you go to the branding center, actually on the Rotary International site, they actually have
Well,
flyers
this is just
and news.
talking about our.
This is
Yeah,
however,
But I
the
think-
main problem here is
So, you
that
know,
this area where over 20 vendors are gonna set up their tents is, there's no way they can get all those people in there. And there's no parking, you have to park on the 9th line. And that's, I just don't see this being very successful. Do we know if the town has given them a permit?
I don't know that.
It's private property, they don't need a permit. They sell. their-
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, they wouldn't need a permit. The only permit they would need is health inspection kind of.
Okay.
And even then, that's questionable.
let's revisit that. I'll talk to Jen and yourself about the flyers and we can move forward from there.
Rotary just had a booth at the Dairy Farmers Market, and it wasn't about doing anything. I was just trying to sell the 50/50 tickets, but nobody was interested. Because it's bigger than they care less what it's like us. But we just had a bucket of prizes that we raffled off. Like you put your contact info and we added you to the email list so you can know about our meetings. And then you could win a bucket with like a massage coupon, all these things from local businesses. So maybe just some engagement. To make this.
As we're running late, Janet, do you want to just defer
Yep.
thing to next week? And if we do the draw, the other draw? So 50/50, the other 50/50?
695.
That would be.
That would be Janet.
That would be.
I also, by the way, in case anybody wonders what happened to the money, Chris was supposed to be here, but he isn't, so I have a bag,
He's online.
two baggies full of coins in my purse, so don't try to take my purse, because I'll lock you with it.
So Chris, can we arrange you to meet up with Barb to get that money?
No.
Yeah, I'll arrange with Barb to do that. And I've got a humongous bag of coins here to give to, I think, Chris Beggs. So yeah, I'll arrange with Chris to drop that off.
Fantastic.
I think I need a wheelbarrow for the bag of coins that I've got.
All right,
I got some money for you too, Chris.
No problem.
okay. All right, that's it for today. Thank you, everybody. Have yourselves a great week.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.